Hello. Hey everybody, and welcome to this first look video. Today we're checking out a new release from BRsim Designs. It's an Embraer EMB200 Ipanema. Basically, it's a crop duster. It's available over on simmarket.com. It's retailing for €22.14. This aircraft, it kind of came out of the blue. I know there was a bit of chat about it over on Facebook, but what I really like about this, it's sporting the new visual effects available now to the third-party developers for Microsoft Flight Sim. So it actually shows off a bit of crop dusting effects, which we'll have a look at in a few moments. So to start off with the aircraft, well, they're made in Brazil, primarily as an agricultural aircraft, for aerial applications. Crop dusting is its mainstay. It's produced by a company called Industria Aeronautica Neva, which is a subsidiary of Embraer, which is located in Brazil itself. The aircraft, it's single-seater. It's not ideal for night ops. It's primarily used during the day. And, well, as you can see from the exterior, it looks kind of weird and janky. It looks like your man Dusty Crop Hopper out of planes. That fella. Liveries, it comes with a couple of liveries, alright. There's a white one, there's a yellow one, but it's only a matter of time before there's a heap more of them added into the sim itself. So if we kind of just go for a little ramble around the aircraft to see how it's all kind of put together, well, you'll see straight away from the model work, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, this thing is beautiful to look at. The use of textures, PBR, reflections, all that good stuff, it's all on point, and it's very, very detailed. The sprayers here at the back, even on their own little frame. You can't change the tail number, which a little bit of a bugbear, but again, it's not a huge thing. A lot of attention to detail has gone into the aircraft itself. As you can see, the model work is just on point here, and even the fuselage, like, it has those kind of dints and rivets and whatever else that's in there, and it looks really, really nice indeed, including the cable coming from the cockpit up to the tail of the aircraft as well. So there's a bit of kind of head scratching. How do you get the chemical thing to work? You have to read up on the manual how to do it. The manual of the aircraft, there is one. It's kind of buried. If you go into the community folder, go into the aircraft itself, into your sim objects, and then you'll find documents. Well, it lives in there. So I'll show you how to use the chemical spray, how to get it set up, and all that good stuff here now in a moment. So when it comes to the exterior, and if we're doing a review on this, reviews are new to me channel. Usually I just say, hey, look at this, but I think a review is warranted here, because it's new. There's not a lot of people flying this at the moment, so you might be someone who says it looks interesting, but I don't know. So I think we're going to score these out of 5. I don't know why people go 5 or 10. We're not that critical. For me, the exterior, I would give this 5 out of 5. It looks absolutely stunning. There's nothing that I can see that looks wrong. Do you know what I mean? Everything looks where it should do. A lot of detail has gone into it. A lot of care has gone into it as well. So I'm really, really liking the exterior of this aircraft. So what we're going to do next, we're going to jump inside, check out the internal textures and what sort of features inside the cockpit has, and we'll give that a score out of 5, and so on and so forth. So welcome to the cockpit of this mad little plane. So as you can see kind of straight away, single seat operation. It's basic but very, very functional. So if we have a look down here, we can see that the modeling and the textures, they're pretty much bang on point. There's one or two kind of areas, it's like low resolution. It's not bad, but just when you look at the roof and stuff like that, it's like, it's a little bit Minecrafty. But it's not bad. Do you know what I mean? One thing I'll score against is, well, the windows don't open and the doors don't open. Unless I'm doing something completely wrong. I haven't figured out how to do them, but there are no click spots from what I can see. And I just think, when it comes to third-party aircraft, lads, will you just include these? They're just nice to have. It makes very little difference to flying the aircraft, but to have a little window open, do you know what I mean? It just adds the whole thing to the immersion or the realism or whatever it is we want to call it. But it just, it adds to it. So when it comes to the instruments, well, you can see it's sporting a Garmin GNS 530. We can see over here we have our altimeter, in which we'll reset that, hitting the DMB. We have our speed indicator, our turn coordinator. This one here is the chemical tank. Chemical tank, it sounds kind of dangerous, but essentially this is the onboard, or the the aircraft's own tank for when it's carrying chemical for which you can then later deploy. Moving down here, we have our mag switches, battery, alternator, and auxiliary pump. We have our lights, and we also have stuff for the cabin heat and air. You'll also notice, see the red switches here? See these fellas? Look. These are important. These will turn on or off your static elements, which there's a bit of a procedure. Number one, when you're on the ground, you got to turn on your static elements. That'll appear at the tank outside. So I've just clicked that, and well, look, there's the tank. And again, there's like, it's really, really well modeled. Like, there's nice kind of pipes and stuff, and there's a little generator there, and it's shiny, and there's a bit of texture to it. So basically, we want to get whatever's in this tank into the aircraft itself. To do that, well, we're going to turn on the battery. So battery comes on, we'll turn on our beacon lights, and what it's going to look for is the auxiliary pump. So we're going to turn on the auxiliary pump, and when we click on the fill chemical tank, you're going to see the indicator here go from 0 to hero. So if we click this once, there we are. Ready to go, Betsy. So we'll turn off the auxiliary fuel pump, leave that off for a moment, and well, we're going to start getting this aircraft ready to take off. We can also turn off the static elements because we're finished with the tank. Moving over to the right hand side, we have our fuel indicators. We have a spray lever or switch, and there's another part of this, but basically this is a click spot. You click this and it turns on the sprayers, the jets. You have compass, you have RPM indicator, your vertical speed, and you have your oil temperature. Your little flaps lever, which is just here. And then you have your parking brake. Now, what's kind of weird and strange about this, I'm not sure is that a feature of the aircraft, but in this position, the brakes are actually on. If you pull out the lever, it disengages the brakes. So it's kind of counterintuitive. I haven't seen that on most aircraft. Usually it's kind of pull for braking. Just like the handbrake in your car, you kind of lift it or you give it a yank. But anyway, that's where it is. It has fuses, but you know, the circuit breakers aren't modelled. They're not functional. They look really, really nice. So maybe that's just something else they can add to. As we move down and along, well, it's a tractor, essentially. Do you know what I mean? This is part of the old farming equipment. So don't expect it to be nice and clean and brand new. Like even the chair. It's like the old farmer's chair by the fireplace, isn't it? So you can kind of see at a distance, the texture work is really, really nice. It's only when you get up close, it kind of goes into, that could have been maybe a little bit better. So I think for the interior, I'm going to score it. Well, you could be kind of mean and say 3 out of 5. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5, but that's on the pretense that the developer might, I don't know, watch this review and say, do you know, he's onto something. For which then you might just turn on the L windows there, will you? So looking over on this side, we have our fuel shut-off valve, so we can have fuel shut-off completely off. We have the left, both or right. We're going to leave it on both. We have our trim wheel here, which I have mapped to my joystick. We also have up here then with our throttle, our mixture, and this third fella here, well, that's the spray, or how much spray it's going to use. Now, again, I can't find that on an axis. Can I control it? It's pretty much you either click this guy here, or you click this guy here, and it turns on the spray. But in doing so, you have to be over 40 knots and all this kind of good stuff. So what we're going to do now, we're going to start up the engine and check out the sounds. So we're going to give it a 4 out of 5 for the interior. It's definitely not bad. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I'd love to see, well, get the windows working and maybe sharpen up some textures and get the doors to open. Then it's just more complete. But you know, anywhere from the control stick to the throttles, it's really, really nice. This is a beautiful little aircraft and it's fun to fly. So we're going to get ourselves started up here. So mags are currently off, battery is on, alternator can flick on here as well, beacon is on, we'll turn on the auxiliary fuel pump, we'll add in some mixture, we'll test our annunciator panel for the alternator and a stall warning. Yes, they're all working, all is good. Transponder is currently off. So to start up this machine, we have our mag switch, we're currently on the off position, we'll go left, right and both, then we'll say clear prop in some sort of a strange accent, and well, we're going to give it a bit of a start here. So keep the RPMs just below 1,000 and the engine is now running. Now, have you noticed something as we're already here, apart from the wonderful sounds? There's visual effects currently working. Look closely. Just kind of see where the mouse is here. Do you see the steam? Well, not steam, it's exhaust. That's coming out of the engines on both sides. Or the engine out of both sides. Can you see it? Isn't it absolutely cool looking? You know, the simulated ozone damage that we're causing, but it looks really nice. So when it comes to sounds, well, let's have a listen. So the sounds are absolutely on point with this. They're just nice. You know, they do the job, they work, and well, it sounds like a tractor. You know, if tractors sounded like airplanes. So what we're going to do, we're going to taxi on out, take it for a spin around the block, and well, we'll have a bit of fun with the old crop dusting. Who knows who's out reading the Sunday paper, and next thing we'll fly overhead and drown them in, well, let's pretend it's like water or something. This actually opens up the door for, you know, like firefighting missions. Perhaps you can have smoke effects for aerobatics. There's a lot of cool stuff that'll come from this, so it's great to see, and it's native. This developer has created or coded this into the aircraft itself using the newly released particle effects from the developer update, which is super cool. So we'll put our transponder over to, do you hear that? Do you hear your man talking there? We'll put this over to alt mode, and well, what we're going to do, we're going to just taxi on out and take off. So before we go any further, the sounds, well, we have to score the sounds, haven't we? I've no real issues with the sounds at all. I think they're pretty good. Again, if you had the inclusion of the windows that could open and close and they had that kind of different sound separation, that'd be interesting to see. But the sounds of this aircraft are quite good. I would give them a 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. We're stacking numbers here, lads. There's all sorts of stuff happening. So, park and brake coming off. And yeah, let's taxi our way forward here. So how the aircraft actually handles itself, well, on the ground it's relatively easy. Even though it's a tail dragger, you don't need to worry too much about keeping the pressure on the stick, keeping it pulled back. So it's, you know, it's very predictable on the ground. It doesn't really get away from you, so that's kind of nice. Now we also have flap sounds as well, so we'll lower our flaps here. You should hear them. Jump outside. Very nice indeed. So we've got one notch of flap for our takeoff. And our plan is, as I said, we're just going to kind of bolt out of here, turn on some crop dusting and see what happens. So here we are, pretty much ready to go. Quick check that our lights are on, which they are. Transponder is on, and our flaps should be at the first notch, which they are. And again, the animations there, look at them. Absolutely top notch. Perfect. And even look at the texture work there in the wing with the sun hitting it. It's very nice, isn't it? So what we're going to do, add in a bit of power. Keep some pressure on the stick, pulling it backwards. Airspeed is now alive. Now as a tail dragger, it's not too bad, as in it's not going to try and kill you straight away. Kind of gives you a little bit of time to react to it. Oopsie daisy. There we go. Flaps coming in. Now it's quite easy for this speed to kind of get away from you a little bit. You know, you can kind of see from the green arc, somewhere between kind of 80 and 120 knots is just ideal for this. Anything more than that, the control surfaces kind of lose their ability to move the aircraft, which seems spot on to me. So we'll watch our speed here. We won't exceed 140 knots, so power back. And we're just going to trim it here now. Again, it's relatively easy to trim the aircraft. Nice, nice. So jump outside here. So I suppose one thing missing for me is the lack of a virtual pilot. Do you know, if you're on the outside looking in, it's one of those weird autonomous planes. It's flying itself. Maybe that's the future of crop dusting, who knows? Right, I think you're all mad to see, Murph, would you just turn on the old spray and get on with it? Right, I will. So, to do that, you need to be going more than 40 knots. That's the first thing. So we'll watch our speed here now. But essentially, it's almost like they're using the contrails, and they're just coded to appear at the aircraft, you know, when it's much lower to the ground and going much slower. So to turn on our spray, we have a full tank. Keep your auxiliary pumps on, and we'll just click on the little button. Want to check that? Look over a wing. There's the stuff coming out there now. And let's jump to an external shot. It's a first, guys. This is the first aircraft to have particle effects turned on. Now, if you look at it from here, I do think they're using some sort of a 2D shape. It is, you know, it's quite compelling. It does look the part. I'm not drowning your man. There we are over a field now. Look, where would you get it? The only thing I have, I suppose, to say about it, I would rather see a much longer LOD, if that makes sense to you. The distance in which this particle actually kind of flows, I don't know, what could you call it? Would it be 10 meters maybe? Something like that, about 30 feet or so. I would like to kind of see more of it. Again, that's pretty much going to be up to the developer and what they can do, because the impact the aircraft has on the sim, it's not bad. Like, there's no noticeable FPS hit on my system. However, if you do tilt the cameras back here into the great kind of craziness, well, it will have an effect on your machine. In particular, if you really want to start messing with things, if you hit the pause button, something weird happens. Look, that's kind of weird. So it's creating this particle effects just for the aircraft, so it's not holding in the sky like a contrail would. And if you kind of put the camera in here, well, like, you're really going to lose some of your FPS. Not that you're ever going to be doing this, but it's a thing just to be aware of it. Now, I've yet to test this in multiplayer. If other people can see this effect coming out of the aircraft, that'll be the next thing I do. But certainly as you're flying along here, you know, listening to a bit of Gareth Brooks as you rain whatever pesticide or fertilize or whatever it's going to be down on the land beneath you. You know, but as I'm saying, this absolutely opens the door to some maybe firefighting missions. Could you imagine that, being a water bomber? Also the smoke effects if you're going to do, you know, air shows or aerobatics and all that kind of good stuff. So there's huge potential with this. And, you know, fair play to BRsim Designs. I mean, they figured out how to do it. They are the first, at least, to release working effects of an aircraft into the sim. And it just adds another level of immersion. It's really, really nice. And depending on the angle you go for, I mean, something like that, I mean, that's that angle there, I mean, you're pretty much spot on there. Now, I know crop dusting, you tend to be a lot lower. We won't worry about that too much. Now, as you can see, as we're flying along here, just get myself trimmed out here as well. Well, you can see that the owl, it runs out fairly quick. And the only way to refill this, you got to go back well, just land somewhere, turn off the engine and reactivate your static elements and then refill the tanks. You can't do kind of any sort of mid-air refueling. So we'll finish up with the spray, and what we're going to do, well, we're just going to hop outside and show off the aircraft in all its glory. So we're going to try and get this landed into a field. You know, it's agricultural. Surely we can land it, you know, Farmer John or Farmer Tom or whoever he's called. We're going to try and land it there. So with the visual effects to score them, well, they are the first ones I've seen within the sim. And I think they're pretty good. I would definitely give them kind of, you know, a 3 or even 4 out of 5. I would like to see a longer distance. The LOD needs to be a little bit, I think, better. It'll be interesting to see what sort of optimizations the sim will do with this sort of stuff. Because, you know, if you're in multiplayer and it all works and you have 10 or 15 people using that, you know, it could become a slideshow fairly quickly. But we're going to see, can we land this on that field down there, look. You know, no pressure. We're also going to land uphill. So this aircraft doesn't like going less than kind of 70 knots because it'll just stall. But in terms of how it handles and how it performs, it's easy and it's fun to fly. The faster you go, you lose a lot of the control surfaces. They kind of get numbed out a bit, so you just kind of need to be aware of that. The sweet spot of this aircraft is about 100 knots. So this could be just, do you know what I mean? This will either work out very well or terribly bad. We'll see what happens. Our speed is still kind of high. Flaps are down. It's grand. Right, Murph, no pressure here now, man. Just kind of hold the nose up. There's a bit of a bounce, but we're okay. Keep the tail back. Tap on the brakes for a bit of manual braking. Get ourselves spinning around here. Alrighty. So we'll bring ourselves to a gentle stop. Let's have a quick look outside. Bring our flaps back in. Looking good. So, you know, it suffers the same sort of headache. As soon as you cut the engines, you're brought out to the main menu. A little bit of a bugbear, but don't worry about it. So with the engine off, we're going to see now, can we turn back on the static elements. So push the button, and there they are in the middle of a field, ready to refuel you for your next mission. So in order to do that, make sure that our pump is on, engines are off, static elements are there, and we're going to check in our chemical tank, refill, and we're good to go. Isn't that kind of super? Absolutely fantastic stuff. So turn off the pumps, alternators, mags need to go off as well, get our lights off, and knock off the battery. So we can kind of keep it from here. And, well, what do you reckon? Is this definitely an aircraft you're going to consider to buy? You know, it kind of adds that whole... Like, you can imagine this thing tipping around the likes of Idaho. Kind of bush flying in your little crop duster. Do you know what I mean? So, overall, the total score I'm going to give this aircraft, it's 4 out of 5 for me. I think it's absolutely fantastic. For an aircraft to come out in the sim, as I said, without kind of much noise. It just kind of appeared. I think the dev has done a fantastic job implementing the visual effects. The aircraft itself, it's such an interesting kind of weird airplane. It looks fantastic. I would like to see a little bit kind of more kind of Gucci things, you know, get the canopy to open or get the windows to open, that kind of stuff. That just really adds to the aircraft itself. Maybe having a custom tail number as well. These are just kind of nice to have. They're not totally required. The static elements I do like. Be interested to see, you know, can they expand further on what chemicals you put into the tanks? You know, maybe perhaps you can add water in. It all depends on the limitations of the visual effects engine. But certainly if you're to put in the firefighting stuff, that's like a red mist that comes out. That would be great to see. So as I said, the aircraft itself, it's available over on simmarket.com. It's about 1.5 gigs to get it installed. It comes with its own kind of checklists, which are built into the sim as well. You can go down through them, turn them on, Murph. This is a guy who doesn't use checklists. But if you have a look at the checklists, well, they're already there. So you have, you know, before, how to turn on the AG operations. Everything's kind of there in your checklist. So it's great to see them native into the sim as well. So that's pretty much it. The sounds are from that of WYs as well. There's no shortcomings here. I think the price of this aircraft is not bad. You know, 22 euros. It is a good plane. I've enjoyed flying it. I'm going to continue to enjoy flying this thing, and I really think you will too. It's a crop duster. It's unique. It's mad looking, and it has particle physics. What more do we want in the sim? So if you guys like these sort of videos, I think this is the first video review I've done. Do you know? And of all the, you know, all the live streams and general chaos I get up to, I've never done a live review or like a video review. So I hope you guys liked it. I hope it's helped form an opinion if you want to get this aircraft or not, to add it to your virtual hangar. If you have any questions, comments or opinions, do leave them in the section below. I do read them, and you know, you might have some questions about the aircraft itself. If you have any bothers installing it, or you know, Murph, how did you get the thing to work? So all that good stuff. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Do hit the thumbs up button if you like this kind of content. You know, if I get enough likes, I'll say I might do another one. So until the next time, look after yourselves, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.